Good day. Welcome to Threads Cultural Conversations 2023. I'm Candace Vasquez, and it's my true honor today to ask as the interviewer, facilitator, host of this amazing session we're about to receive. Joining me today is Osemis and Warren, two people well known here in Saskatoon. They are quite busy on the community development front, the advocacy front. There's not an event that I seem to go to in Saskatoon where I don't run into the two of you. It's wonderful. And so I wonder if you could take a moment to introduce yourselves to our audience.
Thank you, Candace. Tansa Tauya, Katatam Skat Noao, Kakio, Warren Isbister-Bear, and Sigason, Ataku Cree Otinia. Hello, everyone. I greet you all in a good way. Thank you, Candace, for having this conversation with us, and thank you, Threads, for inviting us. My name is Warren Isbister-Bear, and I'm from the Ataku Cree Nation.
And my name is Osemis Isbister-Bear, and I'm from proud member of Peter Ballantyne Cree Nation. I come from, or my family's rooted in small town, Sandy Bay, Saskatchewan, and we relocated to Saskatoon years ago. Grew up here in Saskatoon, and I've really enjoyed growing up in this beautiful city.
Yeah, I feel like I've known you a long time, Osemis. I remember when you were a student here at the University of Saskatchewan. It was many, many years ago, and I'm just so proud to see the brave and courageous young man that you've become as an advocate here in our city. And you've done some amazing work. I know both of you individually, but can you tell me how you met? I'd love to hear that story.
We met here actually at the University of Saskatchewan. I moved here in 2001 and came here to the U of S, and that's where I met Osemis for the first time back then.
Sociology
110.
I think 110 or something like that.
And I just always remember Osemis just rushing to get here and there, just like that rabbit, right? On what is it?
The bunny?
The bunny, yeah. Or else on Pooh, on Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, yes, yeah. Mm-hmm. Hurry.
But I always remember he has braids now, but like back then too, like I think he was working a couple jobs and going to school, so then he was just like always on the run, and I always remember he's just braids, just flying, just when he was running down university tunnels. And so he was just like, and I was just like, this guy's really cool. He like his little corduroy pants and his little jacket and his two braids all the time. And then we met through mutual friends, and yeah, that's how I met Osemis for the first time. And then like our relationship just blossomed after that.
Yeah. Well, this conference is about perceptions as well, and you've talked about the perceptions of seeing this beautiful young man running through campus. What's your story?
So for me, I was kind of going through a life transition and discovering who I was. And so I was going through a period of dating both men and women. And that sociology class, for me, I remember always seeing Warren sit at the back of the class, and he was always quiet, but he was I noticed him, he was very handsome to me, and so I wanted to get to know him more, and through mutual friends we were able to meet. And then that summer we went to a number of powwows together, so we did the kind of like the powwow circuit, and it was a beautiful summer. And at the end of the summer I remember our first kiss. Aww. And it was for me it was electric. I remember that first kiss, that my body just tingled, and I just kind of knew that I wanted to spend more time with him. So I chased him. My little bunny rabbit feet chased that way.
Well, it's interesting because, as, two very proud and out two-spirit individuals here in this city, but the story is essentially love. That's what we're talking about today, and perceptions about love and identity and who you are as individuals and who you are as a couple. It was a number of years ago, I remember seeing on social media a very beautiful photograph of the two of you. And at the time, it sort of really put Saskatoon on notice, and it created a lot of conversation. Can you tell me about that photo and why that photo and why at that time, and what does that photo mean to you?
So around the time of that photo, we had been in a longer term relationship, and I guess we were on our journey. We were at a place where we felt strong enough or comfortable enough to enter a cultural space or a cultural circle. So we attended the Indigenous an Indigenous Two-Spirit gathering that happens annually, and at this gathering they offer an opportunity to join the circle. And for us, preparing to join that circle, we both felt that we wanted to be in touch with not just our feminine energy, but our masculine energies. So we both felt that it would be appropriate to enter that circle with female regalia. So we asked friends within our community. We talked to different elders and if this would be appropriate, and we found the support that we needed. So within my social circle, there was a dancer who felt honored to allow me to wear parts of her regalia. And then same with Warren. There was a dancer who also wanted him to wear parts of her regalia. That's kind of a bit of that history of, for us, for me anyway, was through that experience, becoming a part of the bigger Two-Spirit circle was for me a reclaiming of belonging in this cultural space. It was a good experience. It was a beautiful community to be a part of, to be welcomed into. From that experience, I think it provided more, for me, more courage to be out there in cultural spaces and to feel safe in both my masculine edge or my feminine edge, to feel safe where I choose to sit in a circle. I just feel like I have a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, and just to add on to that too, that feeling of acceptance and love, like you mentioned earlier, sakihitowin, right? To be practice that you love your neighbor, you love your family, you love the community. You always give back to the community. And at that time, there was a lot of friends that were part of a local zine, just called Kimwan Zine, and they put a call out for Indigenous queer Two-Spirit people to enter like a photo essay to show a little bit of who they are. How do you reclaim that space within your community and reclaim that space of identity within the fabric of your community? And then that's where we approached Marcel and our friends, right, with this idea and concept of saying we want to show our love, we want to show and play on those gender roles, you know, like we're on the cusp of the Two-Spirit is on the cusp of both the binary, right, male and female, and we were able to really push the envelope through traditional regalia, and it was such a beautiful way for us to show our love and show our love from the community as well. And the community really stepped up, and again, like our friends said, yeah, use our regalia, use this, and they came out and supported that. And so just that overall feeling of sakihitowin, love and acceptance from our peers and our family just really helped us with that photo essay. And Marcel Pettit was the one who just said, yeah, I'm all in, let's do it. So just all around, just that feeling of acceptance and love from the community was really a pivotal point for that photo, or those photos, I should say.
So you talk about reclaiming space in the circle. Why do you think it needs to be reclaimed? Why did we get into the situation that we're in today, where Two-Spirit have to feel that way? Is it at one time it wasn't that way?
Yeah, just the process and the concept, or the impact of colonization that had on our people, right? It had on our societies. Indigenous Two-Spirit people were revered, honored, respected, a part of our societies, right? And through colonization, that was lost. That was shunned, and through Christianity, you know, it was all just taken away from us. And we're just trying now to reclaim those spaces. And I think it's very, very important for people like us, and for me to take that on and ensure that those are they're safe spaces for younger people that are coming after me, that we have a role to play in ensuring that those spaces are safe,
Yeah.
right, for the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think for myself, I think about our journey. I think I'll speak from my family experience and perspective. I have a family that practices both traditional spirituality, but it's also come from a northern community, so there's also a strong Roman Catholic presence in that community. And some of my family members, they primarily just go to church, and some of my family members, they primarily just go to ceremonies. So, and I think in northern communities, the Roman Catholic Church had a very strong presence for a long time. And although my grandmother didn't go to residential school, that impact of the church has definitely been a part of my family experience. And when I think about our wedding and the journey of our wedding, there's family members who I would have loved to have celebrated us at the wedding, but they chose not to because the presence of the church and how their religious beliefs, they kind of missed out on a good celebration. But at the same time, these same family members, from my perspective, when I look at their personal journey, they absolutely love Warren and I, and they have always accepted us. But just the idea and the concept of us getting married and what's written in the Bible kind of impacted them. So for me, reclaiming that space is about bringing forward the acceptance of that same day as a part of the bigger Saskatoon community. Getting ready for I don't know how much Warren knows about getting ready for the wedding on this part of it, but my uncle wanted to sing an honor song for us, and so on the other side of my family had an uncle who sings and is a part of cultural circles, and so he wanted to sing an honor song for us. And in getting ready for the wedding, he needed a drum. And so my family wanted to see the support, or I don't think it was a test, but they needed this drum. And there's another cultural family that kind of watched over me in Saskatoon. And I remember my dad sending me to this elder's home, and I had to ask for this drum. And with a lot of love, I told the story of why I needed the drum, got a big hug, got a big, this acceptance that, this is my drum and it can be used for your family can use it for your wedding. It's shown to me that space is being reclaimed. And so I like focusing on the experience of our wedding as a story for why I feel, or how I see colonization impacting Two-Spirit people, and how I see space being reclaimed.
Sounds like your wedding was an amazing event. Do you want to share a little bit more about the wedding?
And just to add on to that too, like my grandma as well, and a friend of ours, we were gifted blankets. Okay. And blankets, are a huge honor and you're honoring someone. And then during that time when his uncle was singing the honor song is when we were, sorry. Yeah, we were wrapped in the blanket. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And did this wedding take place out at Wanaskewin?
No, it was on the Prairie Lily. Yeah, on the boat. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, and how many guests?
I think about 100.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then it was a big storm. Some people got left on shore. But yeah, it was so beautiful, like being attached to the river too, the river system, how important the water is. You know, we wanted something to signify that within our ceremony. So yeah, it was the drum, the blanket, the water, friends, family. It was such a beautiful experience.
Sounds like a beautiful wedding, and it sounds, you know, in the story of Osemis that you were telling, the elder accepting and showing you that love and giving you that drum, you start to see the impact of our culture opening up and, you know, addressing the colonization. So what role has cultural, I know, Warren, for example, you're a cultural performer yourself. I've seen you dance many times. What role has sort of owning your culture had in your two-spirit identity and your journey?
And I think, just to start off too, I think I grew up as a Métis dancer, you know, Métis jigger, square dancer, and then I think that I was always, when we talk about that impact of colonization, like our ceremonies, our the drum, it was all like banished by the government, right? So what we had to do is figure out different ways in order to celebrate, and through our Métis brothers and sisters and the fiddle, we were able to rejoice and celebrate again, right? And that's where we always get together, like traditionally, like the powwows and different things like that in ceremony. We took that on with the fiddle now, right? So my community where we grew up, really strong background with the fiddle and dances and stuff like that. So like I grew up in that, and then I started performing, toured all over like Canada and different places, right? So I think too that's really helped me come out of my shell, has really helped me understand who I was and the importance of that cultural part in me, even though we didn't grow up in the traditional sense of the First Nations culture. This Métis was really enabled me to understand the significance and breathe a new life and energy into those strong Indigenous and European connections, right? And how we could live together peacefully and moving forward. So it's really helped me as a person really understand and value that beautiful history. And again, just being able to dance, perform has really allowed me to, again, give back to the community through demonstrations and just for the love of dance, right? And it's really inspired me and helped me be who I am now today. Yeah.
Well, you're both community builders. Have we come far enough? Where else do we need to go? What else needs to happen?
I guess for myself, what I've experienced recently, as organizations are inviting Indigenous people to take up more cultural space, I've seen ceremony become more open, right? And as a part of that journey, sometimes what I notice happening out there for Two-Spirit people is, where do I sit? That seems to be a big, for me, what I've experienced recently is for Two-Spirit people, if men are sitting here and women are sitting there, where do I sit? Or how am I going to participate in this ceremony? I've kind of seen that play out a couple of times. And for myself, I think back to some of the guiding experiences that I've been able to have. And so always, for myself, I identify as male. So I've always sat with the men. There was a period of time where I guess my grandmother was showing me or trying to tell me she knew that I was Two-Spirit. And so she shared the story with me about the boy who liked to wear dresses. And the first time she shared the story with me, when I was a little boy, I used to like to wear dresses. So I didn't really reflect too much on that story. But not looking back now, when I reflect on the story is about treating people with respect, kindness, and loving people for who they are, for the person that's inside of them.
Yeah.
And bringing that back to cultural space, when there's a person who is male, born male, but identifies as female, they want to sit with the male. And I seen that in a ceremonial space, but there's, females sitting here and males sitting here, and the person looked very female. So for me, there's always a space where circles or a circle intersects.
Yeah.
So I go for that space. I go for the space where there's that ability for people to sit and feel, this is where the circles meet up. And for that individual, so I was at a ceremonial event, and this individual who I know in the community that's going through this journey, I knew that person wasn't comfortable. So I went and sat right in the space, in that center space, and I invited that person to sit with us. I know it's a small thing, but, or I don't know.
Yeah, it's huge for the person, though.
It's huge for the person.
That gets accepted to sit with you.
Yeah. And I think we've all been in ceremonies where, even within First Nations culture, it's highly structured and there's rules, and you are laying new ground or unearthing old teachings that need to be now taken in, and so there's almost a duality between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people around the kind of education that we need to have and share and support. Yeah.
I think too, and you say, what do we need to do? I think Osemis says it right there. He's like, reach out, show support. You never know what that's going to do or the impact that's going to have on someone, right? It's like if you just open a seat next to you, that's going to open up floodgates to that person to say, I'm accepted, I'm valued, I belong here. So I think that's my message too, is reach out, stand up for those to ignorance, stand up for those people that maybe just, and we feel it, we feel it, and we see it on people's faces if they're going through something, and sometimes they just need, are you okay? What's happening? And that's what Osemis was talking about. Is this person was like shaking, didn't know where to sit when we just said, come sit with us, and it was just like, thank you, right? And just those little acts of kindness, right? Sakihitowin, love, compassion, and if we have that for everyone, like, imagine how our world would be.
Exactly. I absolutely appreciate the two of you your openness today, your sharing. I think we've captured an amazing story for our audience. I'd like to thank the organizers. I'd like to thank Saskatoon Open Door Society and Threads Cultural Conversations for opening the door for this space. Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Osemis.
Thank you.
Thank you.